What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Brainwashed to be broke, the show where we expose all the lies, all the beliefs, all the scripts that we've been taught since we were born and what is truly possible. Today, I'm here with another guest. His name is Paul. He is a mindset and business coach, keynote speaker, and creator of the Thoughts on Demand framework, helping individuals, leaders, and entrepreneurs break free from negative self talk to lead and grow with greater clarity and confidence. So I'm super pumped to have him here. We're gonna be talking a lot about mindset and business growth probably during this conversation. And before we jump into some specific topics, for those who don't know you, who you are, Paul, like what is your claim to fame type of
Huh.
thing?
Well, claim to fame would imply that I have fame, and I'm not sure that that's the case. However, I can tell you something about myself. I spent many years as a classical musician. I was trained that in school, and that's what I did
Right.
for many, many years. And since that time, I have become trained as a coach. I work primarily with individuals, either on dealing with their negative self-talk, how to reprogram their thinking so that it's supportive rather than not. And then I also help a lot of solo entrepreneurs sort of build their business in a way that really fits and suits them.
Mhm.
So that's kind of the general outlines of where I came from and what I'm up to these days.
Awesome. So you basically helping people to grow their businesses, especially with specifically tactic wise, or even like more of the mindset wise, I would say, right? Because like what I've read, the intro is like mindset business coach, so it's like a lot of mixture of all of it, or yeah.
Yes, I've the business coaching part of what I've done is a bit more recent than the other part of the
Mhm.
coaching. And when I first had, frankly, a very strong intuitive hit that said, Paul, you should do some business coaching, I was kind of shocked and thought, who said that? Why should I be doing business coaching? I have degrees in music, not in business. And there are thousands of people out there who have so much experience and training in business. Why should I jump into this? And besides that, all of those, well, thousands upon thousands of business coaches, they've all got their proprietary systems to help people build their business. And those systems all work. What have I got to offer? Well, as I thought about that, I realized that yes, all those systems work, especially for those for whom developed them, and it works for some of their clients. But I also noticed it didn't work for all of their clients.
Mhm.
So I began asking the question, well, why is that? And I realized it's not about the system. It's not about the proprietary steps, the specific strategy. And what I realized was that strategies work when they are really aligned with the person who's using them. How
Mhm.
do you find energetic alignment with what's going on? I remember when I started my business being told that, well, you have to be on social media. And not only do you have to be on social media, you have to be on all of them. And well, not only do you have to be on all of them, but you have to be posting all the time and well, posting things of value so that, people are wanting to be engaged. And then when they do, then you have to go back in and engage. It was just overwhelming to me. And I thought, how can I possibly keep up? And frankly, I never quite understood social media anyway. Anytime I would go there, I would sort of look at it and thinking, I'm not sure why I'm here. So, of course, whenever I would post, I was not overly engaged. My posts never got any traction. It was not the strategy for me. It's very powerful. I've got a friend who gets most of his clients through Facebook. I couldn't get people to see my posts in Facebook. So, there was something amiss there. So, social media is a very powerful one, just not for me. And so,
Mhm.
when I'm working with people to build their business, I first want to find out what gives them energy, what reflects their values, what is their intention for how they want to be in their business. And when they get clear on that, well, now we've got a whole range of strategies that can work, but we pick them from the place of being alignment. So that's kind of what I feel like I'm bringing to this business building world is let's build it from the point of view of what is in alignment for you.
Very interesting. Because like when you think about it, the way that you describe it, I completely get the point of being aligned with what what you are using as business strategies or tactics. But don't you think that you are like, when it comes to not using social media, leaving like literally like clients on the table? Just I'm curious because like this is like, I love this type of debates when it comes to that, because like social media brought us like literally massive opportunity to be able to connect with basically any type of people, right? Like even like when and doesn't matter what type of social media. We can talk about LinkedIn, we can talk about Facebook. Yeah, every platform is powerful, different way that how you can use it, right? And there are paid advertisement and so on. So I'm like really curious, like how you see it from the different perspective. And like, how do you use, or what type of different strategies do you use to actually bring clients to your business?
Yes, great. So first of all, am I leaving clients on the table? I'm not really sure. I mean, when you think about the world, okay, there are how many billion people in this world? You know, there's way more than I can help. So I only need a tiny, tiny fraction of people in this world to help my business run. Okay, so that's one thing. And what is the best way for me to attract them? What's the best way for me to let them know I exist? And I quickly realized social media is not the way for me to do that. Now, what I have discovered and learned is that I actually love speaking. There's something similar to it as there was to when I was a performer. So there's something about that that I really enjoy. And I'm really enjoying it and learning more and more about it. And so, frankly, I think I'm getting better and better at it. And the response that I get when I'm speaking is really positive. So, this is one way that people are eager and happy to learn about me. And I have learned to craft my talks in a way that really help people learn what I do and why they might want to work with me. So that becomes my major marketing strategy. I speak.
Mm-hmm.
I speak at conferences. I speak to different groups of people who are likely things. And that is the most powerful thing. And as soon as I realized that, oh, I need to focus in one area, speaking, this is all I do for marketing, all of a sudden my energies were no longer distracted and dispersed into doing so many different things. Now I had a focus, and that focus helped it be more and more effective. There's way more momentum in my business now that I do one thing basically for marketing than when I was doing all sorts of things. So I think it's that focus and for me, that energetic alignment, which gives what I'm doing power. I could do lots of other things and spin my wheels in lots of different directions, but it's not going to have the power that this one thing does for me. It's not right for everybody. All of my business clients do not become speakers because that's not right for them. If they feel aligned with that, okay, I have some things I can, strategically offer in that way. But there are so many ways to build a business.
Oh yeah.
So many. Yeah. So I don't worry about am I taking advantage of this or that, because there's so many opportunities in anything you pick.
Right. Wouldn't you say that because when you see, like, for example, the most successful people in the world, they usually use, like, they never start with all social media at once, because that's distraction. Like, you nailed it with that. But don't you think then, like, when you get into certain point of like growth of the business, then like leveraging the social media and leveraging, for example, even though you're speaking on stages, they probably record those speeches. So it wouldn't be, for example, wise to use those things to actually, like, use it on social media also, so people can find you and then start connecting with you and so on, because that literally, like, you just like leveraging what is already created, right? And so on. I'm trying to challenge
Yep.
you, like, on that a little bit, because like I love it. Yeah.
Thank you for the challenge, because that always helps me grow as well. Yes. So I had beer with some friends a number of years ago who were saying, yes, you need to do more with social media. And I was thinking, I just don't get this place. Why am I bothering? And then they helped me learn that YouTube is also a social media. And I said, oh, I'd never thought of YouTube as social media.
It's different kind of social media. It's not
Yes.
exactly, but it's
Yes.
like it's way more valuable to have YouTube channel with like 1,000 followers than having a social media, for example, Facebook with 10,000 followers. I'm telling you right now, because those people, that 1,000 followers on YouTube has way more time consuming, what is it called? Like the like how long they consume your content.
Yes.
They are way more warmer than people that just seen you on social media and so on, right? Because you have to show up, there is more trust and so on. So yeah.
Yes. Yes, exactly. But when I realized that, oh, well, maybe YouTube is another avenue, and the idea of making videos, well, I like that. That's kind of like speaking. It's just that I have my audience happens to be a camera,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to speak through the camera to an audience, but I don't
Hmm.
see them. We don't have that much interaction.
Hmm.
So I do have a YouTube channel, and I have
Uh-huh.
been doing videos that way, and that is another way for people to
I love
learn
it.
about
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find that my YouTube channel, for me, its biggest benefit is for people who have come to realize I exist, who can go there and begin to build some trust, to learn something more about who I am. Sometimes people stumble across it and they're introduced to what I do. That does happen. I have gotten clients this way, but I use it more as how can I help people along the pathway of learning who I am and whether or not I'm someone who can help them solve their problem.
I love it.
Yeah. And now, having said that, am I on LinkedIn? Yes, I am. And I never did very much of it. I have an assistant now who works in that area much more than I. And she is able to take other things that I do in speaking or in YouTube and sort of reformat for that and puts that out there. And what she does for me gets way more attraction than I did. And yes, as your business grows, there becomes more opportunities to expand your marketing channels, to
Yeah.
do more. And that is not a bad thing. But I think often people who are beginning a business feel like I have to do everything.
No.
And that
Yeah.
I feel is the wrong choice. We want to do one thing really well. And when that's going and moving and there's momentum and there's capacity for something else, sure. What's next? What also feels like it's aligned for you?
I love it. Yeah. That's what I agree on with you, basically. Because like, yeah, you are completely right. I don't know who said it, but there was a guy, um, really well known, probably, because like I usually like really admire certain people. So I have like bunch of people that I'm like, like daily routine, that I'm like what is going on in the in the world and so on, like what is market shifts and changes and such. And there was like, he was, I don't know who said it, but it was that to hit the 1 million, you just need one channel, one sales conversion process, and one offer. That's it. Because like if you're gonna start splitting attention to more, it's just distraction. It's so insane, the strategies and everything, like tactics changing so often, and like keep up with multiple platforms. It's just insane, like totally. So I
Yeah.
completely agree with you on everything what you shared. I love that your first step is basically speaking on stages, which is one of the most like the scariest thing on the internet, like a profession even or whatever, because like speaking on stages is just, like it's just so many people are like it's one of the scariest one, I think, for most of them. So this is like so cool that that you've decided that way, and I'm curious, why did you decide it to do like exactly that?
Well, as a musician, being on stage, being in front of a lot of people, that wasn't a new thing for me. And of course, after 30 years of doing that, I got pretty comfortable and pretty good at being there. And sometimes during concerts, I might find opportunities to speak about the music, to say things. And so, okay, that was kind of growing that muscle a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
And that was kind of fun. And of course, as I was beginning to build my coaching business in a very serious way, thinking, okay, well, what's the best way for me to contact a lot of people quickly? Well, speaking is a way to introduce a lot of people to what you do all at once. Because
Hmm.
you're speaking to 30, 50, 100, 500, 1,000 people, whatever it is, at one time. And so just the power of that, saying, well, this makes it easy, and I like to do it. Some people generate so much energy and activity in their business through networking. I've done a lot of networking, and I enjoy meeting the people. I am not a great networker in terms of the strategies of how to do that in a way that really generates business. And some
Mm-hmm.
people do that easily and well. And there are techniques, things that you can do, ways to approach it that do make it more powerful. It just wasn't my particular skill set and not something I was particularly interested in. So I still go once in a while just because I like meeting people, but I don't expect it to be much in terms of building my business.
I see. I see. Yeah, this is really interesting. And I love that, like, every person should be using their own like preference for like generate leads, especially specifically for the beginners, right? Because like, yeah, anyway, there is like what I've been trying to do like on social media for a long time. Then we literally grew my Facebook profile for 50,000 followers in like 6 months, and then they shut me down in like 3 months ago. Since the day 3 months ago, or how to express it probably. And like basically, since then I had to like literally revamp my whole social media and so on, right? So there's like one of like, but because you do not own the platform, right? So you don't never know what's gonna happen, right? But when you go and speak on stages and so on, like, it's advantage for you because like you can give them, for example, let's say a link to your, or scan a code, and they literally just like becoming your email list, right? And you
Yes.
can text them or whatever, and that's like way more effective than, yeah, I love that. So I would love to deep little bit more towards the um towards your towards your past when it comes to like being a speaker, oh my gosh, musician. So how did that happen? Like, have you been led to being a musician since you've been young, like, since you were young, or like, it was something that you've been passionate about, or like, how did you get into music?
Yeah. Well, in my family, when you were in like third, fourth grade, you started piano lessons. That was just kind of the thing. that
Interesting,
my,
yeah.
my siblings did that, so okay, that's what I did. And music was, it played a role in our family, and I was
Yeah.
around it, whether it was, through church services we might go to, or concerts we would go to, or for whatever reason. Well, actually, I know the reasons. My parents would take me to concerts when I was quite young. By the
Okay.
time I was about 9 or 10, I'd heard most of the major orchestras of the world. And I said, what? And because they were coming through to an area where we lived. And I said, why did you take me? They said, well, actually, the tickets were cheaper than hiring a babysitter to stay home with you. And so, okay, we took you. Okay, well, so I was around music a lot. I began to sort of learn its music and see what it was. And then I started playing piano, and, something about it spoke to me. I don't know exactly what that was. And I'm not sure I care what it was. It just did. And I kept studying more and doing more and doing more. And then thought, I think when I go to college, I want to, well, actually, when I was in high school, I started studying with a teacher. And that experience was really transformative for me because it felt like he and I were discovering music together.
Mm-hmm.
That was really a powerful experience for me. And that's what helped me say, okay, when I go to college, this is what I want to study. Okay, well, you go to college, you learn more. You just keep going down that path. Um, and that's where I ended up being.
What do you mean by discovering music with him together? Like, what do you mean by that?
So when one is learning music, you learn how to play it, how to think
Yeah.
about it. What does music mean? How, what are all the
Yeah.
different composers, all the different styles, all the different things, which of course I didn't know anything about. He did, but he was introducing them in a way that it felt like we were just on this fabulous adventure discovering all this stuff together.
Wow. Okay.
He wasn't discovering it new,
Yeah.
but it felt like we were just going down this path together. And I'm thinking, wow, look at that. And he'd say, yeah, isn't that cool?
what type of effect it had actually on you when somebody like that, who is already like experienced, leading you towards something like, being so like being better and better in the skill that you potentially love, probably because that's why you are even sharing it, right? It's something that fulfilling you, probably, like music and performing on the stages, basically, which is the like it's very interesting that it's like it's very connected to what you do now
Yeah.
and so on. So I'm just like really curious, like what did that like how what type of effect it had on you to like feel that somebody like him can actually like help you to get into, to that, to become master in the music, basically.
So I guess it's two things come to mind. One is that journey helped me learn something more and more deeply all the time. We were getting deeper and
Uh-huh.
deeper, and I was getting better and better. And I liked that experience. And when I was, 17, thinking, hey, that's possible to do. I'd never done, I just play or do things, whatever any kid does.
Yeah.
And this experience of going deeper and deeper, I found satisfying. And so that
Mhm.
was one of the things of what it was. It sort of opened up a new door of how I could approach anything,
So
you know.
are you saying that you like people out there may study something that they potentially don't even like, and then like maybe in a in the process of like discovering the whole thing, they can actually fall in love with it and like become like super obsessed with it? Or like how did you get into like being so obsessed with the music and so on?
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Yeah.
Well, I think it's possible that people can
Uh-huh.
fall in love with things that they don't like initially. They don't need to. It's way more easy if you begin following things that are attracting you now.
Hmm.
You follow what's of interest to you, and then it's easy to go deeper, and it's fun to go deeper. I've forgotten a little bit about what your question was, but I think what's interesting about life is to follow what we are drawn to.
Hmm.
What catches your attention? Oh, go look at that. The old stories, the hero's journey that Joseph Campbell talks
Okay.
a
Yeah.
lot about. He says, one of the instigating things often is there's a ball or something that comes into somebody's view and runs off, and then they just follow it and find themselves in a completely new place. Well, that's what I think is fun. Something enters your awareness, and you say, oh, what's that? And you start following it. And then you get deeper and deeper. And the deeper you get in any topic, I believe, the bigger the world gets, the more you realize there's so much more going on.
Mm.
That's why I think it's satisfying to go deep, is because there's a whole new world that opens up when you go deeper. Now, you had asked earlier about, this person who led me, and I didn't realize that's what he was doing until later in my life. And I looked back and said, oh, that was a cool thing. I was just doing what I did as a 17, 18-year-old kid, learning to play music. I now realize the impact he had. And I have to say, one of the more important things, concrete things I learned from him was not to choose things because it's easy, but to choose things because this is the right way to do it or
Mhm.
what's meaningful. So like if I was playing a piece of music, okay, I could play it in a certain way which might be technically easier. Like, okay, phew, I don't but it brings less meaning, less depth. It doesn't express something in a deeper way. Sometimes you have to pick the hard technique, the hard way to learn in order to get the end result. So that's what I really learned. Most important thing I learned from him is don't go with just what's easy. Go with what's important.
So I'm curious right now, like when it comes to your life and the way that basically you started your life with, going deeper into music and so on, like where was the moment for you that you had the aha moment that like the life that we've been sold to is not actually like the way that you want to live your life, being in like employed or something, like because we've been talking like about, the musician basically phase of your life where you basically been studying and discovering like why you didn't go through like music instead of like going to coaching and so on. What was the thing that actually like, okay, I have to like, I love music, but that's probably not the right way for me to to basically live my life, but I have to do, or I will do something different.
Well, there wasn't a single moment,
Okay.
that says, oh, there it is. We love the idea that lightning strikes and suddenly the world is different. That's pretty dramatic and fun and exciting. And who doesn't love a story like that?
Yeah.
I think it rarely happens. I remember listening to what's his name, Reed Tracy, who's the publisher of Hay House Publishing Company, and he was
Uh-huh.
talking with some other author, and he says, "Yes, I've never yet met an overnight success that didn't take 10 years in becoming an overnight success." So, okay, we love the drama. That is fun. I think it can happen that way. I think it's pretty unusual. It certainly did not happen that way for me.
Yeah.
Um, so I got a number of clues. So first of all, being a musician, it was an honor to make a living that way. I enjoyed it. It was satisfying in a lot of ways. Performing was fine. It wasn't really deeply fulfilling for me. I thought,
Mm,
okay, well, that's an interesting thing. I mean, it was
that's
fine.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't like, oh my gosh, that is my reason for living. No, I could do it. I could not. I liked it. Um, and I also, as I grew and got deeper and deeper in all of this, I came to realize that being an artist is so much more than just sort of, shall we say, mastering the tools or the techniques of your art. Being an artist is really mastering yourself,
Hmm.
uncovering all the hidden fears, motivations, desires, agendas, whatever it is that always gets in the way of creativity.
Okay.
That's what being an artist is to me, is uncovering and getting rid of all that junk so that creativity has a place to be. That I loved.
Okay.
I loved helping my students, my music students, do that same thing, and they seem to respond to that. Okay, so that was another clue. The third clue I got was that I had done lots and lots of reading while I was a musician, almost never about music. Isn't that
Mm,
curious? What was I reading about? I was reading about, uh, psychology and spirituality and personal development
okay.
and mythology and all of this other stuff, because that was also helping me on this journey of getting rid of my own hidden stuff. And for a long time, I felt like I had this sort of double life. There was this public part of me that people knew as a performer, as a
Right.
musician. And there was this, what seemed to me to be kind of a closeted part of me who was interested in all these things I was reading about. But, I didn't talk about those things. And eventually, I came to realize that what seemed like two different energies in my life were actually two aspects of the same path.
Mm. What do you mean by that? Tell me more.
That being an artist was my entree into uncovering my own hidden fears and motivations and stuff. And the reading that I had done was also that. It was another way for me to do that same thing. And I realized that the purpose of all of that, sort of the focus of my life up to that point, had been really around growth and personal expression. Now, after about 30 years as a performer, I began feeling like something's coming to an end here. It's been great, but I don't know. The energy there seemed to be waning. I didn't know what was going to be replacing it at all. Um, and eventually it became clear to me that, okay, yes, it is time to stop that and time to start something new. And from what I had learned, I ended up just quitting all of my
Hmm.
music work without having anything else lined up to go to, or even idea exactly what I was going to do. It's like, I don't know, but I knew if there was going to be something new coming into my life, there had to be space for it. Because if I kept my life full, there's no
Yeah.
room for anything new. So I
Have you
cleaned it out.
have you know at that time that the way that the life, like the way the life was designed, like literally, have you know already that, like, that basically the safest path is like going towards like being employed and this type of things, or you've been already like thinking a little bit differently, being this type of like entrepreneurial creator type of person, so you want to like build something yours.
So as a musician, that's kind of an entrepreneurial adventure. You know, I never had a full-time job until I quit being a musician. It was always a little bit here, a little bit there, and I'm playing this, and I've got a concert over there this week, and I'm doing this teaching, and so there was something entrepreneurial about it the whole time, and there were things about that that I liked. Um, and when I quit, I thought, well, what am I going to do? I happen to have developed some graphic design skills along the way, and I thought, well, maybe I can use that while I figure out what's next. So I did spend about 2.5 years. I had a real life full-time job, and I discovered here in the States that that comes with health insurance and even a tiny, tiny bit of vacation. Is like, wow, that's pretty cool. I've never had either of those things before. So I did that for a little while, and it wasn't too long after I started that I realized, oh, coaching is the direction that I want to go. So I started my training while I was doing that job. And uh, after I finished coach training, became certified, started working on this business, I realized, wow, these full-time jobs, they take up a lot of time. How do I find more time to spend in my business? Well, 2 weeks later, I got laid off from my full-time job. And I thought, oh, I guess that's how I'm going to find more time. So the full-time employment job was something that I never really did much and didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I was just never in that world. And I didn't see it as I'm going to do a job or I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I just kept doing stuff that I did. So there wasn't this really clear decision one way or the other. I just sort of followed I was being led to. I didn't realize the sense of that path until later. I think it only makes sense as you look backwards. I mean, there I was being a musician, doing all this reading, thinking, well, I'm interested in that, but I'm doing here, and this doesn't have anything to do with each other. And then in hindsight, I said, oh, it has everything to do with each other. And I'm not entirely sure necessarily where this coaching business of mine is going and what that has to do with everything. I have some inkling because I've been around long enough now. But, I have a feeling in another 10 years, I'm going to look back and say, oh, that is what that was about.
Yeah, yeah.
So I have developed a fair amount of trust in life and in the world to just say, I am being led where I need to be led. And my job is to listen and pay attention and to go ahead and say, there's nothing all that serious going on here. Let's just follow this path.
Right. When you mention also like what actually it takes to become a professional musician, would you say that there is a lot to do also with like how well you can present yourself online kind of thing? Like when it comes to like, so people can actually like know you? Or so like that what was the way that you find opportunities at that time to be able to like for example sing on stages or like being able to find a what is it called a gig or something
Yeah.
like
So I will say that all during those years of being a musician, I was not great at marketing. I did not understand that much
do
about
you
what
think
a
it's
business looked like.
important actually to be good at it or at it
It
at
really
that
helps.
okay
It really helps.
just for those who for example listening and maybe they they,
Yes.
they are in a musician like from your expertise like what would you do to get as many opportunities to sing on different stages and so on and let people know who you are like
Yeah.
what would you do like from your expertise like and experiences from the past.
Yeah. Well, just a very small correction that doesn't really matter. I'm not a singer, but I was a keyboard player.
Okay,
So,
all good.
but the ways I got work were mostly through people that I had met or known. And that I've come to believe is the way most of us get most of our work or clients. People have to get to know who we are.
Yeah,
When I was a musician, I spent more time sort of, shall we say, cloistered in my practice room,
yeah.
trying to get better at my craft, and not so much time out meeting people. I would do that very differently now. I would go to conferences, I would go to workshops, I would go places where people are and
Yeah,
meet people and talk with them as much as I can and I now understand the importance of building a network, not in a
yeah.
not in a way that says, what can I get from this network? But as a way of expanding what I know, what I learn, who knows about me, what's possible, what are the collaborations that could come out of this that we have no idea. I would, anybody who wants to do anything, I would say, get to know as many people as you can and be
Hmm.
curious about who they are, what they do, curious about yourself, curious about what could come about because you met this person. Right now, the reason I go to networking events is to meet people, not because I think they're going to become my clients, because they probably aren't, but they may know somebody who might, or
Hmm.
they may know somebody where I could speak, where all of a sudden now I've got more people. So
Yeah.
it's just, I'm curious to know what's going to come of this adventure I'm on.
Yeah, I love it. When it comes to these networking events, the really great strategy that, for example, I use just from my experience, I would love to share in here
Yeah.
if you don't mind, is literally giving stuff for free that's going to be useful for those people. Like literally, hey, nice to meet you. I have something like that I would love to give you, just like, for beginning of our relationship, for example, here's some type of stuff for free. I just build it, just take a look at it. If you like it, use it. If you don't, or even literally inviting people onto podcast. Great stuff to literally build a relationship and like potentially get even to the networks that you've never experienced. Like it's so low resistance. Anyway, like that's like I would use something like that literally.
Yeah.
Um, and now so basically after the whole journey of your musician season, and then like you going towards coaching, and basically yeah, coaching, business coaching, mindset coaching, um when you got into that area of expertise and like trying to help people this way, what was for you the most challenging parts right from the beginning, like to be able to basically how different it was from from the things that you've learned during the musician season, that you could literally take and apply to that coaching season, that literally like help you to get into like success or profit right from the get.
So there's a couple of answers that come to my mind. So one of the things that helped transfer into, or transform, shall we say, into a coach and working with people was all that work I had done as a musician. As I said, uncovering my own stuff. It's like
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't have been a much better preparation
Right.
or helping people to see. So that was the thing. When I started the coaching business, I also made a very conscious decision that I was going to approach this differently than I approached my music
Okay.
business. I was going
Interesting.
to, I was really saying, okay, I'm going to approach this as a business
Uh-huh.
because I know what it's like to sort of limp along and do fine. And, I made money and we had a life, but, I wasn't rich. um, so I knew I wanted to approach this business as a business, and I knew I needed to learn more about that. So that was sort of the real difference. And of course, at the beginning, I wasn't particularly successful. I didn't
Okay.
understand
Uh-huh.
really what a business needs to thrive. Things,
Did you have already some type of skills like from business side, that you would say, like for example in sales or something like that, so you had to
no,
learn it from basically from the beginning. Okay. Okay,
pretty
great.
much. I mean, I had some skills, as I mentioned, in graphic design. Okay,
Yes.
that helps build a website. That helps me
Okay.
create materials that look professional and look really good.
Mm-hmm.
That helped. But how do you get clients? I don't know. I was not one who joined organizations. I wasn't a joiner as a musician. And I realized, okay, I need to be a joiner.
Mm-hmm.
Just at the very end of my coach training, one of my colleagues said, hey, I want to start a mastermind. You want to join? You want to be part of this? And in my mind, the first thought was, well, no. Why would I want to do that? Fortunately, that didn't come out of my mouth. And I said, wait a minute, Paul, there's a habit of yours. You always say no to this. I think it would be a good idea if you said the opposite. And I said, yes, I would love to be a part of that. Okay, that was a way for me to take steps doing something new.
Mm-hmm.
Um, And, I learned as much as I could about how to build businesses, either by working with business coaches myself. I've worked with a number of different ones, by reading, by learning everything I could. Um, and that helped enormously. I learned so much from all of those coaches. And one of the things that I learned from them was also what is helping me do business coaching now, that often their strategies, their systems didn't work for me.
Right.
There was valuable stuff to learn from them, but their particular way was not mine. And so I had to take what I learned and make it mine.
Mm-hmm.
And when I started doing work as a business coach, I thought, well, okay, how might this look? I thought, if we're really talking about alignment and what fits a person, and there's a million ways to build a business, that's a little overwhelming. How do we find some sort of a framework to help us think about this? And so I built, a framework that I call the CASH blueprint. And the CASH is an acronym which stands for four things, which is what I believe any business needs, whether it's a solo entrepreneur or a multinational corporation. These four things exist. The C stands for clarity. You have to know what you're selling. Because if you are not really clear on it, nobody else is going to have any idea. So they can't buy if they don't know what you're selling. Once you know, then you have to attract them. You have to find a way to bring them into your world. This is marketing. How do you let them know you exist? The S stands for sell. And I don't mean just a sales conversation, or how do you, close a sale? But how do you create a pathway so that once people learn that you exist and what you do, how do you help them down the journey to realizing, oh, I have a problem that you've got a solution to, and I see your solution could probably work for me, and I trust you to help me do it. Can I become your client? That's what sales is about, is helping people realize that you're the one who can help them. And then the H stands for honor. How do you honor your promise to these people who've become a client? How do you deliver the goods? How do you serve them? How do you honor your promise to them and to yourself? And if you figured out those four areas, I believe your business can run. Now, there's a million ways to do each one of those. But that framework helps us to say, okay, I need to be clear on what I'm doing. How is the best way for me to do that? I need to attract people into my world. What's the best way for me to do that? Podcasting is clearly a great way for you. You love talking. You're interested in people. You ask interesting questions. I've done a lot of podcasts, and of all the podcasts I've been on, this is probably one of the more fun ones I've been on. So thank you. Thank you. So there's so many ways to do this. But with this framework, this at least helps us say, okay, what are the four buckets I need to figure out?
I love it.
Yeah. That's what I've really learned through all of this is, oh, this is what a business needs. And when I fill out those four things in the way that suits me, everything gets easier. And that's been my experience and the experience of a lot of my clients.
Yeah, that makes sense completely. I love the way, like, how does it actually call when you have this type of like framework? The name is like a short, no, it's not shortcut.
It's an acronym.
Acronym, there we go.
Acronym, yeah, where the letters make a word, but they stand for things.
I love it. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I love it because like what you described is literally like it's exactly what you need to become successful or make money basically online, right? Or like in a business, like 100%. And you wouldn't believe that literally took me for like 3 years or so to actually figure out, because like I get into entrepreneurship with no background. Like my parents are, just working people, like literally in corporate. Never, I had no background in business whatsoever.
Yeah.
So it was a tough journey. So just that thing that you shared is worth of lot to me, because like how much time and effort for me it literally cost me to be able to actually even like understand it. So I really appreciate that you shared it and like explained it. And like I also like one of those other things that I really like what you shared is like, or at least I guess you shared, when it comes to strategies and tactics, they pretty much work like all of them work. It doesn't matter what you use, like literally doesn't. One of them may be working better for you, the other one's going to work like a little bit worse, but they still works. So the biggest question is actually what's stopping you to do them? What is the thing? So most of the time it's the mindset, right? It's that's stopping them. So I love that also. And like to end up this conversation, I have a last question and then like three rapid fire that I usually ask. I would love to ask you, when it comes to your business and your personal life, what is the future goal for you? Like where do you want to take the business towards, and even like, personal life when it comes to, what you love doing and so on? I'm really interested in that.
Thanks for that question. It's something I'm actually thinking a lot about right now. And I'm very consciously designing a business that fits my life,
Mm.
not the other way around. So, what do I want to do in my life? I want to spend time with my wife and my son. I want to travel. I like good food. I want to cook. I want to go out. I want to do all sorts of things. Now, I need a business to generate some revenue to help me do that. And I want to have a sense of fulfillment and a sense that I've made a positive impact on this world. Okay, this business can help me do all of those things. So that's the focus of how I'm doing this. I am of an age where, okay, I'm beginning to think about retirement. Okay, it's going to come at some point. What do I want that transition to be like? What do I want my life to be like? And I thought, well, what if it's barely a transition? What if I start living my life right now as if I'm retired? I just happen to be running this business also. So I'm finding ways to think about and approach and plan and execute my business in a way that really suits, as I said, my lifestyle, what I'm wanting to do. A couple of weeks ago, I said, I would like to have Fridays off and not work Fridays. So I don't work Fridays now. I just put my business into Monday through Thursday. Okay, that's a step. I mean, not a big deal, but it's a step to help me move in the direction of what I want. I want a life that feels abundant. And by that, I don't mean a giant pile of money, although that's fine. And, I wouldn't turn that down either. But abundance, I see really as a flow. It's a flow of
Mhm.
money, a flow of experiences, a flow of everything. Okay, how do I let more stuff flow through my life? That's how I want to think about this. And so that's how I'm trying to approach my business. How do I allow and encourage clients to flow through my business? How do I encourage and allow money to flow through my business? How do I encourage and allow free time to interact with my business? How do I put all of these things together? That's what I'm trying to figure out at the moment. That's what I'm really curious about, just to see where that's going.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for, for sharing all of that. It was a pleasure to have you on the show. And I believe that you are amazing what you are doing. So I believe that you're gonna figure out a way to get into the place where you're literally going to get that. Because like we as a business owners, we are not giving up. There is no way to give up, and like there is not even a word that I would say that like for me to be like a failure is more like a the data or like an output that I can learn from and get better into, doing the things that I do and so on. So I believe that we are very similar in that, like, that the way that you basically what you've done with your life and so on. So and to end this conversation, I have three rapid fire. So the first one is, what would be one book that you would recommend somebody who is, for example, starting a business or having a problem with mindset? Because usually when people are starting a business, it's usually about mindset or skill sets, like those two things. So for those who are having struggled with mindset, like executing things, or they are still like, oh my gosh, what other people thinks about me, and this type of limiting beliefs they can hold, what would be a book that you would recommend them to read?
Okay, so three books popped in my mind during your question. Um, and I will be a little bit self-serving specifically with that last question. How do you change your mindset? I've actually written a book called Thoughts on Demand, which is about exactly that. We learn habitual thoughts, some of which serve us, some of which don't. How do you change that? Okay, thoughtsondemand.org if you're interested. Another really powerful book that I've read 4 times, I think, and I'm sharing with my clients all the time. It's called The Big Leap. It is by Gay Hendricks. It is a wonderful book opening our mind to how we can allow more love, more success, more everything we want in our life. Really fascinating book. There's another book specifically about money when we're thinking about revenue and building a business. It's called The Energy of Money by Maria Nemeth, Nemeth, which has a marvelous sort of very practical, strategic ways of thinking about money and changing our beliefs about money. I learned about this book from my own business coach who said, this is the only book that I've done every exercise in. So that's what I will offer. 3 books. Sorry,
I love it.
I
Okay.
make it 1.
I will check with them about the money stuff
Yeah.
because I love studying money and like how business works and so on. But also like the mindset books. Have you read U Square?
No, I have not.
Okay. It's very tiny book. You should check it out. U Square. It's really, really great book.
Okay.
Okay, so the second question is if you would have the power of deleting a piece of an advice from the internet, what advice would you delete that doesn't serve people at all? Like it's totally BS.
You need to do it my way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the conversation like literally fitting into this. Like so yeah, love it. Okay.
Yeah. There's a lot of people out there and a lot of ideas, and it's all good for somebody.
Yeah.
So I don't want to delete it, but just say,
Yeah, it's
do it
not
your
yeah,
way.
well, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I love it. And the third one is if this would be your last interview that you would ever done, what would be the message that would you love to leave behind you?
Life is to be fun and enjoyed and lived. That's the reason we're all here. Enjoy it. Do what drives you into fun. And know that you are good enough exactly as you are.
I love it. Very cool. All right. Thank you so much again. And for everybody who's listening, this was a Paul. I really like, can you actually pronounce your surname so I'm not messing up so people can find you?
Yes, Boehnke, and it's spelled Boehhnke. My website is my name, paulboehnke.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And for everybody who's listening, we will see you in the next episode. Bye for now.